Welcome to Inspiration Inc. We have a very special guest with us today. We have Mr. Punit Renjen, Global CEO Deloitte. Sir, thank you so much for joining us. And it's a pleasure having you on Inspiration Inc. As the name suggests, the show is about bringing out the inspirational story, and yours is one of the most inspirational story for Indians. So thank you so much, first of all. My first question is a very basic question. When everybody at the beginning of their career, they have some goal or some vision in mind. When you started your career and you did go through lots of, not ups and downs, but lots of changes. So what was playing on your mind during those days, in the early part of your career or when you just started your career?
First off, thank you for having me.
Pleasure.
And thank you for those kind words. I started with Deloitte 32 years ago.
Right.
And frankly, I didn't have that long roadmap mapped out. What I wanted to do was learn a profession, try and get good at it, and that was my goal. And that's what I've done. I think the beauty of a firm like ours is that it allows people like me that have the capability, certainly the aptitude and the desire to do well, to be mentored and become good at something. And frankly, that was what my goal was. I was very unsophisticated. I mean, I started with Touche Ross, which was the pre-firm prior to Deloitte, with not a very good sense in terms of what it meant to be a very good consultant. But I started with them and frankly learned the craft.
So during those days, what was your driving force? Because like you said, you did not really have a long-term plan in place. And second is, even in your early, I think, learning days, you did go through a couple of challenges, I would say. You were studying in Shimla, then you had to come back to Rohtak and help in the family business, which was going through rough time and all. So if you can share that experience with us.
Well, I went to boarding school in Shimla, and actually in a town next to Shimla. And then my father went through some difficult times, and when I was 14 years of age, had to come back to Rohtak and go to the local school. And what changed my life was that I got the Rotary Foundation scholarship to go to the United States. Sight unseen, never been on an airplane, I got the scholarship to go overseas. And that frankly changed my life, and it changed my family's life. And it gave me an opportunity to go get educated in the United States, and then of course gave me the opportunity to get to work at Touche Ross and then Deloitte, and become a partner and global CEO. 32 years ago, frankly, I had no idea that this would be my life's journey.
But even at Deloitte, you started pretty early, and like you said, you've been with Deloitte for 32 years, and in fact now you've just started your second term also as Global CEO at Deloitte, and you are driving this very interesting initiative, World Class. So if you can share the vision and the thought process behind this World Class initiative.
Before I get to World Class, I do want to stress one point. People ask me a lot as to what makes people successful, and I think you kind of alluded to that to some extent. If you put your heart to something and you spend the time perfecting it, you will get good at it. There was an author that said that if you want to be a great golfer like Tiger Woods and you practice for 10,000 hours, you'll become a great golfer. And frankly, that's been the moral of my story, is the fact that I've worked really hard. I have no qualms saying that. And over time, with appropriate mentorship, I've become good at something. And that is the real takeaway, in the least as I reflect back on my life's journey. World Class is an initiative that I'm very passionate about. We're a purpose-driven firm.
Right.
And what that means is that we as an organization believe that we create an impact for the clients that we serve, for the people that we hire, and for the communities that we live and work in. We have 280,000 incredibly talented individuals across the globe.
Right.
They are very passionate about giving back in the communities that they live and work in. What we've discovered, and I don't think this is a great insight, is that they're in this Industry 4.0 world, that if there isn't effort made to reskill individuals, there will be people that will be left behind.
Right.
And so world class is an attempt to try and lever the greatest asset that we have as a firm, which is our people, to impact 50 million futures. 10 million of those, 1 crore, will be in India. In fact,
Right.
we announced it this morning.
Correct.
We're going to make a commitment that we will help 1 crore women and girls get the skills to be successful in this Industry 4.0 world. And I believe that it is a very motivating, and in fact, it's the right thing to do. But for us, it is the right business thing to do because it motivates our people.
Absolutely. Also, we are in 21st century, and things are changing much faster than what we could imagine a couple of years back. In today's day and age, what it will take for an individual or even a business house to remain relevant, be successful, and stay ahead of the curve in the years to come?
Well, I think, frankly, that hasn't changed. It takes application. It certainly takes a lot of hard work. It takes making the right types of choices. Again, I'm asked this question: is there a difference between the millennial generation and my generation? I'm certain there are differences. For instance, this generation is far more clear about making an impact beyond just the core profit motive, maybe more so than my generation. But they demand the same things that I demanded: mentorship, access to some great opportunities, the ability to excel at what we do, the ability to create an impact. I have another anecdote. I mean, listen, I view this as my life's work. What I do at Deloitte, when I grew up, I wanted to be a great cricketer. My hero was Vishwanath. Do you remember Vishwanath?
Yeah, G. Vishwanath.
Yeah. Vishwanath was my hero. I wanted to be a great cricketer. I didn't have the skill or the capability. That was Vishwanath and Sunil Gavaskar's life work. They created an impact. What I've discovered at Deloitte is what I do at Deloitte, working for clients, giving back to our communities, is my life's work. This is what I will be judged on.
Right.
When I finish and I look back, I want to look back and say, I helped do that. I helped create something special. I helped create an impact.
That's true.
And I think that sort of mindset in anything that you do, if you have that sort of a mindset, you will be successful.
So standing here, if we were to do crystal ball gazing, and because the interesting part is your journey, your 32 years at Deloitte, and Deloitte's journey itself, they both are sort of connected with each other. Looking forward, what's your vision for Deloitte?
Deloitte is now the leading professional services firm. We've been around for 174 years. This is our 175th year. We start our 175th year in 2020. And we're a partnership. And so we get handed a firm from the partners that preceded us. And our job is to make it better. We're now the leading professional services firm. My legacy, I wish, is to leave it the leading professional services firm and hand it to the next generation of partners. And so that's what we're working towards. We don't want to be the largest. We happen to be the largest professional services firm. That isn't important to us. What is important to us is to be the leading professional services firm that really, really creates an impact. It creates an impact for the clients that we serve. It creates an impact for the people that we hire and develop. And it creates an impact for the communities that we live and work in.
I have an interesting anecdote, and I want to ask you about that. In your early age, first of all, your journey itself is very inspiring. So I think you are the best fit for this show, Inspiration. But from small town in Haryana to B school in US, in this journey, there is one interesting anecdote that you used to record lectures on tape, and then go through it again and again. Why you used to do that?
Because I couldn't follow the American accent. I bought one of the first things that I did when I went to the United States is I couldn't understand what they were saying, so I bought a little tape recorder, and I asked the professor if I could, and these were cassette tapes that were probably people won't recognize today.
Yeah.
But I asked them if I could record it. And what it allowed me to do was not only record it, but what it forced me to do as I was listening to it is to really understand what was being said. And it forced me to actually put in the effort. It was unbeknownst to me, it was a little bit of a turning point.
Right. But you know, I mean, for a lot of people, US remains a sort of dream throughout their lifetime. And like you mentioned, first time you boarded an airplane, you directly landed in US to study. So, I mean, so how was your initial experience after being in US, starting studying there?
I left in the early 80s, and Rohtak did not have street lights. I remember getting off the airplane jet lagged and getting onto the freeway in the United States, and they were all lit. To me, that was a shock, is that I've come to this country that actually lights its freeways. It seems like a minor point, but it was something that stuck with me, is the contrast from where I came to where I was going. But the United States is an exceptional country. It takes immigrants like me, and there are many stories like me in the United States. Indians that have gone, many Indians that are now CEOs like me, that have gone, have similar experiences. They go to the United States, get the capability in the United States, get the opportunity in the United States, and they excel.
Right. But today, do you think that stark contrast that you observed in your early days, that has narrowed? Today, when you reflect on those days and look at the present India or the present countries in Southeast Asia, do you think that gap has narrowed to some extent?
Well, absolutely. I mean, India is on a growth trajectory that is pretty exceptional. What India has done over the last 25 years in particular has been a pretty exceptional journey. I just gave you a, for instance, example in terms of how different it was. But culturally, the West is still different from the East. I mean, my parents still live in India. I consider this my second home. I love coming back. I'm Indian in many respects. My notion of family, I love cricket. I follow the Indian cricket team. I'm a passionate Indian cricket team fan. But I think there are still very big differences between the West and the East.
Who's your favorite cricketer?
Today?
Yeah.
I love Virat Kohli. I mean, how could you not love Virat Kohli? But I love Bumrah. I love Kuldeep Yadav. I mean, Rishabh Pant. What an amazing talent.
Right.
In fact, I took great pleasure. I've got to tell you this anecdote. I watched the entire Boxing Day test. I don't watch TV, but I watched the entire Boxing Day test, India versus Australia in Melbourne. It was the best experience, best decompression over Christmas that I had watching the Boxing Day test.
Right. Who's your biggest inspiration? You know, I mean, obviously, you know, different things and different people inspire people throughout their journey, be it professional or personal. But there is that one person, or maybe a book or something like that, which stays with you, which remains your biggest inspiration. In your case, if you were to pinpoint your biggest inspiration, what would that be?
My mom and dad. I mean, in different ways, they inspired me differently. My dad is nearly 90 years old, probably the smartest individual that I've ever known. And he was certainly an inspiration. My mother has been a tremendous inspiration, as well as somebody that has been a steadying force in our family. She is a force to be reckoned with.
How do they react now when you meet them? Because you know, if I look at your journey from their perspective, here is a child whom they had to call back from one of the best boarding schools in Shimla back to Rohtak and put him in the family business, and from there you have actually never stopped or looked back. So how do they react when they meet them?
I think they think I'm making stuff up. But it's taken them a while to really figure it out. I mean, you know, they live in a different era, different world, but I'm certain they're proud of me, like I'm proud of my son. And I'm certain they're proud of me. I hope they're proud of me.
I'm sure they are. I mean, there are no two ways about it. Which is your favorite book or the most inspirational book you ever read?
You know, you won't believe this, but and I'm not saying this because this is for an Indian audience, but I love the Bhagavad Gita. And I say this not as a person that is very particularly religious. I love it because of the the inspiration that it has and some of the messages that it has. I mean, I find, for instance, that whole episode. Have you read the Gita?
Of course, it's one of my favorite books too, by the way.
Right.
So
You know that episode where Arjuna is standing in the battle and he sees all the Kauravas lined up and he hesitates. And that whole discourse of Krishna telling him that your duty, your life's work is to be a warrior. You can't worry about the consequence. To me, that is such a meaningful aspect in terms of how one should live their life. So, I mean, the Gita itself, in addition to being a beautifully written book, is a fabulous inspiration.
is there something that you regret? Any decision, any step, any move? I mean, of course, there are many steps, but I'm not asking you purely from a professional or business aspect. Otherwise, also something which now you reflect, you feel that if I would have done this differently, maybe things would have been different in whatever aspect. So,
listen, everybody has regrets. One thing that I have struggled with is the fact that my parents live here, and I'm very close to my parents. I come and see them often, but living half a world away from them has been a difficult thing. And so I don't regret it in the sense that the choices that I've made have been good choices from many respects. But I do. It is something that I struggle with.
right. What would you like to tell the people of India who are, currently maybe the upcoming generation? We are one of the youngest nations in the world. And one striking thing when you speak to anybody in India is everybody is very confident about the future of India. Everybody believes that India will be a great country and a superpower, and in a lot of sense we already are. The problem begins when you start asking them about their own future, the individual future. That is where that future anxiety starts creeping in. So what would be your message to them?
My message to them is try and find something that you love, but that is easier said than done. I didn't know what I wanted to do. I think there are three types of people in this world. There are people that actually know or find something that they love. There is a group of people like me that fall into something and then teach themselves to love it. And then there is the bulk of humanity that just kind of muddles through life. If you are in the third category, try and get into the second or the first category. If you're in the first category, you're blessed. But if you are like me and you fall into something, teach yourself to love it, because if you love it, you'll become good at it.
So what I hear from you is somewhere you consider yourself lucky to be at the right place at the right time, and then you just followed what happened and you were at it.
The harder I work, the luckier I get. I mean, listen, it's certainly taken a lot of effort, but I've taught myself to love this. I've become actually quite good at it. And it's been one of the reasons why some of the success that has come my way.
Absolutely. So. One last question I have. I know you are jet lagged. One last question is, which is that one unfulfilled ambition or dream? It could be personal, it could be professional, which is still there in your mind and you still want to go ahead and achieve it.
Play for the Indian cricket team. At my age, I don't think that will be possible given how wonderful the Indian cricket team is. I mean, in all seriousness, this world-class initiative where we are trying to impact 50 million futures is something, and 10 million in India, is something that I think could be a second inning for me. I'm passionate about this. I think we can make an impact as an organization. I think I can make an impact in my small way as an individual. But I think the ability to positively impact, particularly women and girls, is a tremendous opportunity. I think I look forward to that.
Absolutely. All the best, Punit. It's been a pleasure having you on this show, and yours is truly an inspirational journey.
Well,
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
Thanks.